ever. But the overall sort of England and or Great Britain is that it is a free country, and to try and impose the culture into this country, and where the children have been born here and they've been raised here, it just usually, and I mean, all my sisters, they all have arranged marriages, and all of them are divorced. I'm one of 10.
Thank you very much for calling us, Tanya. And now we're going to hear a call from Barry Gammy of Falkirk. Have I got your name right, Barry?
Yes, you have indeed, thank you.
Right.
It was about your discussion this morning on diabetics. The chap was saying that they shouldn't be discriminated against. Yet your very government does it by the fact that whenever a person becomes diabetic, if they have a driving licence, they've got to reapply, I think it's every 2 to 3 years to have their driving licence back again.
Is this to examine their sight?
Well, we'll come on to that in just a minute if you don't mind. Also the fact that there's the insurance companies, the minute they find out that somebody is diabetic, they'll wall up the insurance premiums up.
Well, Barry, diabetes can affect your sight. So
we'll come on to that in just a minute. The insurance companies insist that every year you must go for a medical in order to get your car insurance. Now, I'm sure that diabetics are the only people who have problems with their eyesight. I'm sure there's an awful lot of people, yourself included, you wear glasses this morning. Now, when you found you had problems with your eyesight, you went to the opticians to find out.
Well, I must just tell you something. I've recently been suspected diabetic, and on 6th September I go to hospital to discover whether I am. If I was told thereafter that I had to have an annual eye check and an annual checkup, I'll be perfectly honest, I'd be delighted, because I'm a lazy person, hence probably my size. I've never had a checkup just for the sake of it. I actually think it could be a good thing if somebody does have an illness that can develop perhaps the loss of your sight, for it to be discovered when something can be done about it.
Barry, can I just ask, as a motorist, or indeed as a pedestrian, you'd like people who drive cars to be checked, wouldn't you?
I'd like a lot of people. There's only alleged drivers out there, but nothing wrong with them, who should be checked.
Yes,
why should the diabetic be discriminated
I'm a terrible
against?
driver.
I mean, a diabetic, if they know they've got a hypo coming on, they know it. There's a lot of telltale signs. My wife, for instance, is a hell of a good driver. Forgive the language. She's a hell of a good driver. She's a hell of a great person. Now, the minute she has a hypo coming on, she knows to pull into the side of the road and to fix herself out. It's unlike somebody who could go along the road with a suspected heart attack, who just keep on motoring.
I've got to cut you off there, Barry. Thank you very much for joining us. And also, thank you to everyone else. I'm afraid that is all we have time for today. I'd like to thank Gary Jacobs for being with me. I've enjoyed his company. And thank you for all your calls.
Sunday chic on BBC One. From the catwalk to the high street, the clothes show's back with autumn style.
Clothes are no nonsense, no fuss, and easy to wear.
From collections to collectors.
Horrendous.
Put your money where your mouth is with the Great Antiques Hunt.
Put it down, it's foul.
Timeless fashion and fashionable antiques. BBC One's Sunday Look.
The return of a real treasure now on BBC One. Michael Parkinson hosts a new series of Going for a Song.
Welcome to Going for a Song, or rather, welcome back. If you were around when the Beatles had their first #1, and Mr. Teasy Weezy was the most famous hairdresser in town, you won't need reminding what this show is all about. If you don't know, then I should tell you it involves looking at antiques and objects that are both mysterious and fascinating. Speaking of which, I must introduce you to the captains. First, Leslie Ash, joined today by John Axford, who's an auctioneer specialising in ceramics from Woolley & Wallace Auction House. Then there's Tony Slattery. He captains the other team, and he's joined by Jessica Ward, a keen collector from London. And our residential expert is Eric Knowles. Now, what this assembled talent has to do is identify the objects we put before them and tell us what they're worth. The correct answer is worth 3 points, awarded at the discretion of Mr. Knowles over there. So let's start the game. The first object, Alan, please, which goes to Tony and to Jessica.
Good Lord. This is very extraordinary, isn't it?
What is it?
Well, the interesting thing about this is a lot of Art Deco stuff is kind of trompe l'oeil, and it's often, it's a bit of a trick they play on you. This is a skyscraper. And, no, it is. It's a parrot, isn't it? It's made of beads. Are they glass or plastic? What are they?
Glass.
They're glass.
Bead is beautiful.
Well, beautiful is one word. Hideous occurs. No, it is. I mean, goodness, I don't know.
I love his hat, don't you? He's got a lovely hat on his head.
No, they're feathers, really.
Oh, they're feathers, really.
Yes.
Right. Silly old me. Silly old me. Now, Jessica, what do you make of it?
I don't know. It's probably French, because the French did a lot of beadwork. And it's probably about 1850.
1850, you think? French?
French. I haven't got a clue other than decorative what it is.
And what price might you put on it?
I think it's older.
Do you?
Do you?
It's because I've never seen anything. I mean, I don't speak from a point of view of scholarship or experience. It's what I see on telly, really. I've never seen this in the Aeneid line. I'm sure.
What do you think then, Tony? What's your estimate of the period?
It could be the parrot's older and it's been put on this later.
That's what I was thinking, yes.
It's an old parrot on a new stand.
It is, an old parrot on a new stand.
This gets even more confusing.
Dead?
Dead, yes, certainly.
1800s?
Yeah, possibly 1800, yeah.
1800, okay, and the price?
It's got to be decorative value, hasn't it? It's got no purpose, so...
What would you bid for it?
300.
£300?
More. But no, ladies first.
We just said £300.
Oh, yes, that's fine, sorry.
You should join,
£800.
You should join the parrot. £800. All right, fine.
And that's the last time I'll say anything because...
Yes,
I haven't got a clue.
Pass that down. So it's £800.
It's a marvellous thing.
And we think it's possibly French, and we think it's 1800. So, Eric, tell us all. It's a rather intriguing piece, isn't it?
It is, yes, because it's a little bit deceptive. You're absolutely right that it's been put on a base probably in the last sort of 20, 30 years, whatever. But this parrot was around when Samuel Pepys was around and when London was burning, because it dates from the reign of Charles II, no less. So we're looking at around about 1665, 1660. Obviously, it survived the plague, as is.
Well, not really.
Maybe it did go. Maybe it did go in the plague. But it is English. It's or if you're viewing in Scotland, it's British. Okay, just to keep everybody happy. Value. What can we say about the value? You said what?
800.
800.
Yes.
Well, it's actually £900.
So
you're not very far out.
No, indeed not.
So I was quite impressed. I think we'll give them 2 marks for that. 2 marks? Yes.
Okay, and it gets 2 points for Tony and Jessica. Let's have the next object, Alan, please. This for Leslie and for John. That's an interesting little figure, isn't it?
Well,
Leslie?
It's bronze. And, there's some right. It looks...
Let's put it down.
Although it's a Japanese puzzle, it's actually got some writing around the back, which is in French, so it's obviously French.
Yeah, it is bronze. It's, they make quite a lot of things out of something called spelter, which is a zinc alloy and then cover it with bronze, and which looks like a bronze finish, but if you sort of scratch it hard with a pin or something, which you shouldn't do, you shouldn't do, I hasten to add, because you'll damage it. The sort of white comes through, but this is a bronze cast thing.
Period?
Period. Now, we've got a little mark in the back there. It's signed Leo Laporte Blaircy.
Do you know anything?
Not a lot. I would say stylistically it's in the sort of Japanese taste, and I would sometime around 1880-ish. It's gilt bronze as well. Most of it, or at least part gilt.
And Leslie, do you have anything to add to that? A price, perhaps?
1880.
1880. I would guess.
800?
£800.
Is that too less?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll stick with that.
800
Or
pounds.
a little bit more.
All right.
Yeah.
800.
800.
Pass it on to Terry then. Thanks.
Right.
So,
Well, Leo Laporblaise, quite a famous Art Nouveau sculptor. He's better actually known for his figural lamps. He's very, very inventive. You've all said that the girl's Japanese, but if you look very, very closely, she's wearing a mantilla in her hair. And you see the poppy flower? It's a theme you forever get in Art Nouveau design. And often these girls have got a very dreamy expression, because what you get from poppy seeds, but opium. Now, the actual garb that she's wearing, this is actually, look at it, it's very clever. It's a Spanish shawl. Can you see?
See, I thought it was a kimono.
Yes, I thought it was something along that line, but you're right.
Trust me, I'm an expert. Okay.
Oh, right.
Well, but not only that, you've got, this is what I like to see, that little foundry mark, because it's almost, you could call it the seal of approval. So it's quite a desirable bronze, nice small size by a sought after sculptor, and the value is, you said what you said again?
800.
800. There's an echo in here because it says here 800
well
pounds.
done. Excellent, yeah.
Oh, well
So, but that was, what, a 2 out of 3 job, you think?
I think it's a 2 out of 3.
I think so too, yeah. All right, John, that's 2 points to you. The score is 2 each, not that anybody's really counting. Let's look at another object, please, Alan. This time for Tony and for Jessica.
A lovely teapot.
Yes, it is.
Did you know it was a teapot?
Yes, I think that's covered that. Next. It is beautiful. It's hinged, is it?
Hinged, marked with 22.
Hinged there. Does that mean anything when it's hinged?
Stops the bed dropping off.
Okay. Well, the programme's in its early stages. We'll see.
It's a lovely...
Is it of a certain description? I mean, is it...
It would be a Castleford teapot of 1850s.
Right.
Circa of... Do you want to add anything, Tony? To the teapot?
It's very... It's incredibly light. What is it, a special kind of china?
Bisque sort of china.
Bisque? But lobsters in it?
Yes. Biscuit.
Oh, biscuit. What's biscuit?
No, you can't.
What's biscuit? What is that, please? Bisque?
It's the way it's it's not smooth, isn't it? It's not glazed.
Oh, I see.
But it's a Castleford teapot,
It's a Castleford teapot.
Look, and it's packed with opium.
And
Spanish geisha girls.
what's price do you put on it?
£400.
£400, all right?
Do you want to say anything?
No, I've got no sort of...
It's very nice, isn't it?
Very beautiful.
And very light, as you said. That's lovely stuff. To Eric, so Eric,
Yeah,
are they right?
I love these teapots, yes. You're absolutely right, Castleford teapot. I have to say, one of the decent things to come out of Yorkshire, apart from the road to Lancashire, of course, yes. But the body itself, scholars refer to this as proto-porcelain. I've never quite fathomed out what they're talking about, but it is a proto-porcelain. It's a sort of cross between porcelain and stoneware. But the nice thing about these teapots is that they're decorated with this moulded decoration. Very, very similar to Wedgwood, wouldn't you agree? I think that's who they're trying to sort of ape. And not only that, the rarest ones can often bear the American eagle. Those are the ones to look out for. Trim with this gallery top, heightened with cobalt. And date, 1850, a bit late. We're looking into the Regency period. This is the sort of thing that Jane Austen just might have used. And on that basis, about 1815 or thereabouts. Value, you said 400. A bit on the heavy side, £250 would probably be enough. So on that basis, I think we've got to give 1 point, but I was very tempted to offer another point to Tony for recognising it as a teapot. But, that's up to you, Michael. I'll let you use your discretion.
I'm surprised that you as a Lancastrian could tell the difference without It gets better, folks. It's 3 points to Tony and to Jessica, 2 points to Leslie and John, and let's have the next object, please. Thank you, Alan.
What's that secret?
This looks interesting.
It's a lovely thing.
Wow. Well, it's a tankard.
It's most certainly a tankard, and it's a tankard because it's got a lid. If it didn't have a lid, it would be a mug.
Silver, the lid, because there's some marks here. I don't know what that tells you.
Well, this is quite a thing. It's quite an early thing.
Is it?
Yes.
How early?
Well, can I think about it a little bit? It's assay mark. I'm pretty certain that's for York.
York.
I think it's half a fleur de lis and half a leopard's head. It's got a date letter which is a Z. I don't know if they can see this, and another mark there which is possibly the maker's mark. I'm not quite sure what that is. Stylistically, it looks to me about the end of the 17th century. Let's say 1660 to 1680.
What's this bit made of?
The shape, this pot-bellied tankard. Right. As early as that is what I think.
Is that marble?
It is silver. It is a marble, isn't it?
It's
green. Or granite or something?
No, it's a green marble. It's got a chip here. I'm sorry, I'm meant to be putting it down. It's a green marble, which is a serpentine. And so date-wise, I would think about 1670, let's say.
So look at the fairly valuable piece here.
I think that's quite valuable. But it has got a chunk out of it.
Leslie, what would you pay for that?
What would
you pay for that? If I'm right.
It's an early piece.
What about an early piece? Very early. 1,000?
I think more.
More?
Really?
How much do you think? How much more, John?
1,500.
1,500. Yeah. Okay. Pass it along to Eric then, and
find the truth.
Eric. So, what about the date? Are they somewhere near?
Just a century short. But you were on the right track. It is York. It's actually 1582. So Queen Elizabeth I was on the throne when this object was made. But that being said, there is an outside chance that this body, which you're absolutely right, is serpentine. This is the stone that's quarried down at the Lizard in Cornwall. There is a chance that this body is slightly later. But either way, it's been cut in such a way, it's been cut on a lapidary wheel, as a gemologist would cut a diamond. This body has been cut accordingly. So there it is, 1582. Value, you said 1,500. Wouldn't be enough, I'm afraid, because we have it down here for £5,000.
£5,000. So how many points then?
I think we're going to give them 1 point for that, because I was impressed with the York.
So that's tied these things up at the halfway stage, because the score is 3 points each. This is round 5, and the part of the show where we feature something that's both large and precious, which will be described by Eric. So what our expert bidders have to do now is simply to decide the price. So Eric, what have we got today?
Well, I'm showing you a poster by a favourite artist of mine. His name was Alphonse Mucha. He was a Czechoslovakian, and he was very big in Paris in 1900. In fact, if you went to Paris in 1900 and you strolled down the Champs-Élysées or the Boulevard Saint-Michel, you would find that the hoardings were covered with wonderful, colourful posters. This was the age of Toulouse-Lautrec and Jules Chéret. But this man, Mucha, he had a good friend in, of all people, Sarah Bernhardt, and he was responsible for designing an awful lot of theatrical posters at the time. So he was eagerly sought after as a commercial artist, and believe it or not, this particular poster is advertising biscuits, flirt biscuits. And I love the coy expression on that young girl's face. And he's a bit of a dandy. It's obviously a very good chat-up line. I'd like to know what it was. What is it worth?
What is it worth, then? So what do we think? Leslie and John, what do you think it's worth?
Well, how much would you pay for a flirt biscuit?
For a flirt biscuit? Well, it depends who it is. I mean...
How much?
Quickly, £800.
Deal isn't scaly.
Okay. Tony and Jessica?
Oh, by the way, the chat-up line, because it's about flirt biscuits, is, have you seen my packet? We think more.
We do think more.
Do you?
I was going to say 1,800 to 2,000.
1,800. 2,000. Okay. So, Eric, we have £800 here, £2,000 here. Who's right?
Tony, nobody likes a smart aleck, but £2,000 is spot on.
Very well done. Well done. So that's a bonus point to Tony and Jessica, makes them 4-3 in the lead. Tight game. Let's have the next object, please. This now goes to Leslie and to John. This is beautiful.
That is absolutely beautiful.
Describe.
Well, it looks gold. Yes, I think it's... Can't see any markings on it, but I think it's probably real gold. Because you said earlier on certain things that they didn't actually do any markings.
Yes, that is true in some cases.
What is it? Is
It's made of a stone.
Is it a snuff box?
Yes, it is a snuff box. It's a very smart, cartouche-shaped snuff box.
Absolutely beautiful.
Beautifully chased, but you have to look very carefully to see if there are any marks on it. Amazingly, it seems to be unmarked.
What period are we talking about? Do you think?
Well, the style is a Rococo style, being scrolls and leaves and foliage.
There's a person there.
2 figures and a dog.
2 figures and a dog.
Two figures and a dog, really. But I would say...
you think?
No, I don't. I think it's a continental thing.
Continental?
Maybe French or maybe German.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a valuable thing.
Is it?
Yes.
How much do you think?
Well, we've sold... I've seen some gold-mounted snuff boxes go through sales. We had one which was serpentine, gold mounts, which made £15,000.
And this one?
That was at an auction.
Well, this has got to be higher than that.
This is
gold.
I think it's a better thing. Any ideas?
How much?
I want to go very high.
Oh,
like what?
Go on.
Because that's the sort of person I am.
She likes to go high.
How much?
30,000?
I'm going to go higher. I'd actually say 40.
40,000.
There you go.
Do you agree with that, John? Do you agree with that?
Yes, yes, I suppose so.
Period?
Shoot me down the flames.
It's a difficult thing to date.
What do you think?
I think early 19th century.
Early 19th century. OK, pass on to Eric.
I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Obviously, they believe this is exceedingly
we think it's something
precious.
I bet I'm wrong.
Well, no, they're right. It is precious. And I can understand why you thought probably French or German, because of the shape. It is a very continental shape, but believe it or not, it's actually English. And the material is gold, and it's set, the panels are agate. Can you see? That's a wonderful, lovely, semi-translucent stone. And as for the figures themselves, basically it's depicting 2 lovers, a fine lady and a gentleman, and there's the dog. And the dog actually is emblematic. It's emblematic of faithfulness, fidelity. So, date-wise, about 1760. So
a bit late.
A little bit late. Value-wise, Leslie, you feel as though you've got an eye for this sort of thing. I mean, do you find yourself wandering in and out of jewellery shops in Bond Street on a regular basis? No? Well, you should make a habit of it, because I don't know how to tell you this, Leslie, but this is worth £40,000.
Bravo! Bravo!
£40,000. That's a lot of loot.
It is.
And points?
Points? What can you say? I mean, I'm going to give full marks, because getting the price of something like that spot on is just... You've obviously been reading my books on a regular basis. That's all I can do.
Very well done. Full points.
Saying about a few things that he's been selling. And so I had a vision that something was going to go for a lot of money.
Good team effort.
She has visions now. Very worrying. But anyway, you've got maximum points. 6 points now. Leslie's team, 4 points to Tony's team. Let's have the next object, please, Alan. Let's see what this is. This is fascinating, a bit bizarre, this one.
It helps that it's dated, doesn't it? 1851.
Yes.
It's all made from hair, which was in the Victorians did in memorandum of the dead. Most of it's hair jewellery, so this almost looks like hair jewellery samples to me of different plaits, and they would have had clasps on them to be made into bracelets and brooches and the inside of pendants. Do you want to say something?
It's the Great Exhibition, isn't it?
The Great Crystal Palace Exhibition. I'd have said, as it came from Crystal Palace Exhibition, there would have been samples of plaiting, but they was done, you know, when your husband died or...
It's a bizarre thing, isn't
It's
it?
been in the light a
It's
lot too, because
spooky.
unless people have green hair, but it's gone a bit, the colour's gone strange.
It's rather macabre, like a lot of
Very
kind of
macabre.
Victorian stuff, you know, sort of...
So what might it be worth, do you think?
It's not very attractive, is it? I mean, what would you call a decorative item, you know, so... That's nice, what's that? It's my husband's heir, he's dead. Kind of nits and ticks all around.
What do you think?
150, 200...
200 quid.
200 quid.
200.
200 quid, OK. Let's see what if Eric can elaborate a bit more on that, because I think you got most of it right, actually.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I was impressed. I mean, it was very much a vogue in the Victorian times, as you said, to have objects made of hair. And quite often you would find a watch chain might be made of hair. And I suppose, you know, you didn't have to die before you could have your object made out of human hair. But it is a bit macabre, and there aren't a lot of people, you know, would be keen to buy it. And would you just read out the value on that for me, Leslie?
£200.
Very well done. Excellent. Very well done.
So I think we've got to give them full whack
Maximum
there.
points.
I think maximum points.
All right. Which again leads to a very intriguing situation when we come to the very last object to be guessed, because it's 7-6 to Tony. And as there is only one bonus point on offer, the best you can do is draw. So this is the moment you've all been waiting for, the climax to our show. The moment we reveal our mystery object, something very weird and wonderful, with which Mr. Knowles has chosen to baffle and to confound us all. Eric, what do you have today?
Well, they say all good things come in small boxes, and here's a lovely little red Morocco box. You open it to find this instrument in there, and Leslie, feast your eyes on it. Tell me, between yourself and John, what you will, and then pass it on.
It's a little barrel.
Can I take it out?
Yes.
Yes,
Feel free.
we have a
Yes,
look at
comes
this.
out.
And it's got a couple of spikes as
odd
well.
Sort of looking thing there. So screw,
It's got a hole in the end.
but there's got
The
two
tap-
different things.
It's a tap of some sort. I would guess you screwed it into a barrel, and did that, and now it's shot something.
Oh!
Because it's got a hole there.
What period?
Underwood cutler, so has it got something to do with...
Cutler. Knife makers.
Yeah. Bottle?
There was a couple...
Oh, is it a thing that you, for putting air into, sort of like champagne or something?
Did you say what? How much?
Value-wise? You got an idea? £300?
300, I would say, 3 to 5.
Should we set 7 for 4?
Let's go with
Okay.
400.
£400. OK, there you are then. They think it's something that you screw into a bottle.
What's a cutler? What does he cuttle?
He makes knives.
Thank you, as in cutlery?
Yeah.
Oh, Oscar. Right. So he makes knives. Is it I wonder if it's a measuring... It might be a measuring instrument, but I doubt it. In fact, it isn't. I just said that. And, sorry. Oh, what are they?
Those go into that end,
All right.
so you're presumably going to pierce something, but I don't know how it would let air in.
I'm going to have to hurry you up,
Sorry.
sadly, but...
I think is it for engraving?
Engraving?
It's either for engraving or it's something to do with the release of air pressure.
All right.
It's not.
And
If it wasn't for the box, I would have thought it was something surgical, but...
and what about price? What would you think?
How useless is it? 300, maybe?
What did they say? Sorry, Mike.
400.
400.
Oh, high.
And it's not precious metal, but... Or is it?
All right.
300.
300.
300.
OK, fine. OK then, Eric, so tell us, it's an intriguing little object. The price ranges between 400 and 300.
I just want one more piece of information from each team. I want you to tell me how old you think
Oh,
it
yes,
is.
the date on it, yes.
So give me a date. Tony, you'd like to give me a date?
1870?
No, Ah, because you've asked that, I bet it's ancient. I bet it's really old.
No, the box isn't ancient.
No, it might not be the right box. I think it's old. I think it's... well, we might as well. It's the last point in my career, really. So I'll just say... shall I just throw something into the air?
Go on.
I would... 1720.
1720.
I know that's wrong, but I don't care.
And John?
It's later than that.
And it would be what?
1820.
1820. Okay, then. So who's the nearest, then?
Well...
What is it?
Well, let me tell you what it is. There was a time when you could only buy champagne by the bottle. You could never buy it by the half bottle. And, of course, once you've opened a bottle of champagne, it goes flat, doesn't it? However, if you used Mr. Underwood's champagne tap, the idea is, very simply, you put the bit in the end there. You notice it's loose, okay? You screw it through the top with a champagne cork. And when it gets through, this little bit drops off, okay? And once it's dropped off, you'll find that it's got a hollow stem. So the liquid then passes up through the tube and released through this point here. Obviously, you've got to keep the bottle upside down while you're doing all this. And the nice thing about this is that you've got these little drill bits, because once you've had a few bottles of champagne, you forgot that you've left them in there, and they often go missing.
What period?
Date-wise, 1870. So
Was that exactly
a
what
little
you
bit
said?
nearer over here.
Oh, right.
And value.
Value. Yes.
Value. It is in the region of £200.
£200.
We were nearer, weren't we, then?
They were nearer.
So how do we score this one?
Dead on with the answer.
No, I said a release of pressure. You said
Now,
putting air
Eric,
into
are you going to make yourself very
Now,
unpopular?
look, you and me outside now.
This is very tense.
I felt
1 point in it.
I felt that we got equal information from both sides, so I'm going to give them 1 point each.
1 point each. All right. So that means then that Leslie and John scored 7. And today's winners, Tony and Jessica with 8. Very well done indeed. Well done. Our thanks to Eric and our two teams for all their wit and wisdom. Join us again tomorrow at the same time, when we'll be going for a song. Goodbye.
Comedy for Sunday night.
It's bouquet. Thank you.
Keeping Up Appearances returns Sunday, 8:30, BBC One.
The main news stories this lunchtime in the South East, now on BBC One with Richard Phillips.
A fifth man has been charged with the murder of black teenager Stephen Lawrence and the carnival clear-up. Police say the successful event was marred only by late-night violence. Good afternoon. There's been a new development in the case of the murdered teenager Stephen Lawrence. A fifth man was taken into custody yesterday after the family was granted a warrant for his arrest. 19-year-old Gary Dobson from South East London appeared before magistrates this morning.
Doreen Lawrence was flanked by family and supporters as she attended this morning's hearing at Greenwich Magistrates Court. Last Friday, lawyers acting for the Lawrence family's private prosecution obtained a warrant for the arrest of the fifth man to be charged with the murder of their 18-year-old son, Stephen. He was stabbed to death 2 years ago at this bus stop in Eltham, South East London, in what police believe was a racially motivated attack. After a 25-minute hearing, 19-year-old Gary Dobson was granted bail on a number of conditions, including a surety of £10,000. He's due to reappear before magistrates here at Greenwich on September the 26th.
The family are clearly happy that all persons that are considered to be responsible for the murder of Stephen Lawrence are now in front of the courts, and they hope that justice will be done.
The committal hearings against 4 other men charged with Stephen's murder opened before magistrates at Belmarsh last week. That hearing is expected to be finished by the end of the week.
The chairman of Tottenham Hotspur, Alan Sugar, may make a statement later today about his future with the club. Reports say it's up for sale for £50 million because he's tired of being criticised and wants to sell his stake in the Premier League side.
Spurs' disastrous start to the season and criticisms about Alan Sugar as chairman are thought to be behind his decision to sell. 2 home defeats in a week has left the Premiership club reeling. The absence of Jurgen Klinsmann and the decision to sell top striker Nick Barmby has met with calls for Sugar to make big-name signings.
We're now being told that £7 million or something in that region was made available to Jerry Francis at the beginning of the summer. Since then, we've also lost Nick Barmby, who's probably the biggest loss of all, but that's brought us another £5 million. What the fans want to see is some of that money being spent.
Alan Sugar has said nothing so far about quitting Spurs. He's expected to make a statement about his and the club's future later today.
Thames Valley Police have revealed that some of the security guards on duty at last weekend's Reading Festival have criminal records. There were 545 reported crimes at the event, compared with 323 last year. 149 people were arrested, slightly higher than previously. The Assistant Chief Constable Ian Blair says the level of crime at the event justified his insistence on a police presence. The force recently failed in a High Court battle to provide security for the whole event. A spate of street crimes, including 2 shootings and 13 knife attacks, marred an otherwise successful Notting Hill Carnival. Violence erupted as crowds cleared away at the end of the West London Festival. But police say no one was seriously hurt and the event was mostly trouble-free.
It's been the morning after the night before in West London. The rubbish piled high, fallout from 2 days of partying which went on until late yesterday evening. As the carnival wound down, there were 2 shootings and 13 stabbings in the area, all separate incidents of violence, but ones which police say did cast a shadow over the festival, coming as they did after 2 days when less than 100 crimes were reported, mainly for street robbery and pickpocketing.
We would want people to come to Carnival and know that they could come and go in safety, as of course the vast majority do. But 13 stabbings is not an insignificant number, and I cannot minimise that sort of violence.
The police estimate there were fewer people at Carnival than last year, but it's thought more than 1 million attended. Normal service is now being resumed in the Notting Hill area, with the clear-up likely to last the day.
There are worries about the future of hundreds of jobs in the City of London following the merger of 2 large US banks, Chase Manhattan and the Chemical Bank. The deal will make the new organisation the biggest in America, with assets of $300 billion.
The merger of the 2 New York-based banks is the 5th large banking marriage this year. The chemical name will go, and so will 12,000 jobs, including some in the UK. Chase Manhattan employs 800 people in the city, while Chemical has 900 staff in the square mile.
Revenue growth in the U.S. banking industry is modest to moderate. So banks are looking for other ways to generate earnings growth and also to improve their returns on capital. So the main benefit of this merger will be on the cost-cutting side.
The banking union BIFU has described the job losses as another sad day for the industry, which has lost thousands of jobs in recent years.
The funeral takes place this afternoon of an aid worker from Surrey who was killed in Bosnia. Tony Richards was one of 2 men who died in a crash after apparently trying to avoid sniper fire outside Sarajevo. The charity he worked for has now decided to restart aid operations.
The accident happened a fortnight ago on Mount Igman as the 2 men were trying to take an aid delivery into Sarajevo. In the darkness, their lorry went off the road and into a ravine. It's believed they were driving without lights in order to avoid attracting gunfire. They worked for Phoenix International, a small charity based in Surrey, which suspended its aid operation as a result of the accident. Tony Richards from Godalming had given up his job to work as a volunteer, helping to get aid into Bosnia. At the time, his colleagues said their work was likely to restart.
I know that Tony and Neil would not want their deaths to affect aid getting to Bosnians, because that was why they were out there, that they were very deeply committed people who ran the risks that we all do, and unfortunately did pay a price with their lives.
Like many of the small independent charities working in Bosnia, Phoenix does not get official support from the United Nations. But Phoenix says its volunteers know the risks they're taking. Mr. Richards' family, who will be at Guildford Crematorium, have given their blessing to the charity's work continuing.
Well, let's get the weather now from Peter Cockcroft.
Hello there, Richard. Good afternoon. It's a rather misty, murky look to the London skyline. That is the telecom tower lurking there on the horizon. We've got a lot of cloud across the region, and every now and again a few bursts of drizzly rain will move through. That's the way it'll stay for most of us. However, things will brighten up the further east you are. Perhaps a little bit of sunshine breaking through, but also the chance of the odd light shower clipping across Kent. Now, the worst of the drizzly weather will move away overnight. Clearing skies could mean a little bit of mist in the east, still the odd light shower there across Kent. But tomorrow looks as though it'll be sunnier. Now back to Richard.
Thank you. Well, that's it. We're back on BBC Two at 3 o'clock. In our main programme tonight, Birds to the Rescue, how a golf club in Buckinghamshire has saved its lake by calling in a flock of ducks. That's Newsroom South East tonight. Until then, good afternoon.
By rights, ex-commando Sergeant Reggie Perrin shouldn't be alive. He sustained brain damage and loss of movement. He shouldn't be alive, but he made it through. Then he set out to climb another sort of mountain, and QED went with him. Follow the story, QED, tonight at 10 on BBC One.
In the film Thriller on BBC Two in 15 minutes, a demanding haulage company sets the pace for the Hell Drivers. Now here on BBC One, the 1 o'clock news with John Tuser.
The UN says the shell that killed 36 civilians in a Sarajevo marketplace yesterday was undoubtedly fired by the Bosnian Serbs.